It all started with a dream of creating the perfect Christmas for my family and neighbors, something magical that would light up the entire street and bring people together in a way that only holiday cheer can. For weeks leading up to December, I planned out every single detail of my display. Strings of lights that would drape elegantly across the roofline, glowing candy canes lining the driveway, inflatable snowmen waving from the yard, and most importantly, a massive light show synchronized perfectly to Christmas music that could be heard from small outdoor speakers I had set up. Every night after finishing work, I'd go outside bundled in layers against the biting cold and spend hours climbing ladders, testing bulbs, adjusting wires, and fine-tuning the timing of the music. I wasn't just decorating a house, I was building a memory, something the neighborhood kids would remember forever. And for the most part, the neighbors loved it. Families would stroll by, sipping hot chocolate while children squealed and pointed at the lights that danced in rhythm to Jingle Bell Rock or Silent Night. Cars started pulling up in the evenings, headlights dimmed, as people parked to watch the little winter wonderland I had created. The joy on their faces made all the effort worth it. But where there is joy, there's always someone who can't stand to see it. And in our neighborhood, that person was none other than the self-proclaimed queen of the HOA, a woman we had all come to know as Karen. She was middle-aged, with tightly curled blonde hair and a permanent scowl etched into her face, as though smiling might break her. Karen thrived on rules, regulations, and control. If your grass was an inch too long, she'd send a notice. If your trash can sat by the curb for a few extra hours, she'd fine you. If your front door wreath wasn't HOA approved, you'd hear about it. And now, with my Christmas display attracting attention, she seemed determined to make it her personal mission to shut me down. At first, it was subtle. She'd stand across the street, arms folded, glaring at me like I'd committed some unforgivable crime. She'd mutter under her breath about tacky displays and excessive electricity use. One night, as I was adjusting the lights on the bushes, she strutted over and hissed, "You know, this neighborhood has standards. Your circus show isn't exactly in the handbook." I smiled politely, refusing to let her ruin my spirit. "It's Christmas, Karen. People are enjoying it." Her eyes narrowed. "We'll see how long this lasts." That was the first real warning sign, but I brushed it off. Maybe she was just grumpy. But soon, her passive-aggressive comments turned into actual threats. She sent me an official HOA email claiming that my lights were a fire hazard and that the music constituted noise pollution. I laughed when I read it because everything I had done was completely within code. I had carefully used outdoor-rated extension cords, surge protectors, and energy-efficient LED lights. My wiring was clean and safe. And as for the music, it was set to a reasonable volume, no louder than someone playing a radio in their yard. But Karen wasn't going to let facts get in the way of her crusade. One Friday night, the week before Christmas, I was inside sipping hot cocoa with my kids when I noticed flashing red lights outside. My stomach sank. I thought maybe an accident had happened. But when I stepped onto the porch, my heart froze. A massive fire truck was parked in front of my house, and several firefighters were walking up the driveway. Behind them, smugly standing with her phone in hand, was Karen. This is it, I thought. She actually called the fire department on me. My kids peeked out the window, their faces pale with fear that their Christmas display was about to be torn down. My neighbors gathered, whispering among themselves, some filming with their phones. Karen strutted forward like she had just saved the world. "Officers," she said dramatically, "this man's display is a clear violation of safety regulations. Look at all these wires. It's a fire waiting to happen. Someone has to protect this neighborhood." The fire chief, a tall man with a thick mustache and the calm demeanor of someone who had seen far worse, nodded politely but didn't take her word at face value. "Ma'am, we'll take a look." My heart pounded in my chest as the firefighters inspected every inch of my display. They traced the cords, checked the plugs, examined the outlets. I could feel sweat forming on my forehead despite the freezing air. My kids clung to my leg, whispering, "Daddy, are they going to take it down?" I knelt and whispered back, "Don't worry, I did everything right. Just wait." After several tense minutes, the chief stood up, cleared his throat, and turned not to me, but to Karen. "Ma'am," he said firmly, "this setup is completely safe. In fact, it's one of the best I've seen. Whoever put this together knew what they were doing." Karen blinked, her mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. But the cords, the lights, the chief held up a hand. "Everything is outdoor rated, properly connected, and within safe limits. There's no violation here. If anything, it's a model display." The crowd of neighbors erupted into applause. Relief flooded through me, and I couldn't help but smile as my kids cheered. But the best part was still to come. The chief tilted his head and frowned slightly. "Although, I couldn't help but notice something on your property, ma'am." Karen stiffened. "What do you mean?" He gestured across the street to her house. "Those extension cords running from your porch lights, they're not weatherproof. And that overloaded outlet? That's actually a fire hazard. You'll need to remove those immediately." The silence that followed was delicious. Karen's face turned crimson, her jaw clenched so tightly I thought her teeth might crack. She sputtered, That's not fair. He's the one with the circus show." But the chief wasn't budging. "Ma'am, safety regulations apply to everyone. Fix it, or we'll have to cite you." Laughter rippled through the crowd as Karen stormed back to her house, yanking down her tacky string lights in a fit of rage, while my display continued to glow brighter than ever. The kids clapped, neighbors cheered, and for once, Karen's power had been completely stripped away. That night, families stayed longer than usual, sipping cocoa and watching the lights sparkle in victory. People came up to me, shaking my hand, thanking me for bringing joy to the neighborhood despite the drama. My kids hugged me tighter than ever, whispering, "Daddy, you won." And in that moment, I realized something profound. Sometimes the best revenge doesn't come from yelling, fighting, or stooping to someone else's level. Sometimes all it takes is patience, preparation, and letting karma deliver the final blow. Karen tried to ruin Christmas, but instead she ruined her own reputation. From then on, she never dared challenge me again. In fact, she avoided eye contact whenever I passed her on the street. And every December after, I made sure my lights shone just a little bit brighter, not out of spite, but as a reminder that joy will always outshine bitterness.